Capricorn, they laughed when you planted seeds on barren ground. They whispered that nothing would ever grow where you were standing. They mistook your silence for surrender, not knowing you were listening to God's instructions. You were never loud about your dreams, because real builders don't announce every brick they lay. You were patient while others performed. You were steady while they mocked. And now, the same eyes that rolled when you were crawling are struggling to follow you as you soar. There's a divine kind of poetry in this moment. The ones who doubted your light are now blinded by it. They didn't clap when you struggled. Now they're pretending they never looked away. The same hearts you once chased now stand at your gate, wondering how you became untouchable. Capricorn, this is not luck, it's divine order. Every rejection was a rehearsal for your revelation. You didn't lose them. They lost access to the version of you that would have settled. Because the one who begged has become the one who's blessed. If this truth speaks to your soul, write this in the comments to seal it. I am no longer chasing, I am chosen. Because that's your declaration tonight, that your silence was never weakness, it was strategy. Heaven was sculpting you in secret, and now the unveiling has begun. Stay with me till the end, Capricorn, because this isn't just a turnaround, it's a prophecy fulfilled. There was a time, Capricorn, when your heart ran ahead of you, chasing people who were never meant to walk beside you. You gave without calculation. You showed up when no one else did. You believed that loyalty would make them see your worth. You believed that love shown long enough would make them stay. You were the one who always initiated the conversation. The one who remembered birthdays, checked on them when they went quiet, held their secrets, defended their name. You believed that consistency could melt indifference. You thought that if you proved your value, they would value you. But while you were pouring your energy into them, they were pouring theirs into distraction. You waited for texts that never came. You wrote messages, deleted them, then wrote them again, hoping maybe this time they'd reply differently. You tried to remind them of your presence while they treated your heart like background noise. It wasn't that you were weak. You were hopeful. You saw light in them, even when they preferred the shadows. You saw what they could become, not what they kept showing you. That's the curse and the blessing of your heart, Capricorn. You see potential where others only see problems. But potential is not promise. You mistook emotional labor for connection and effort for destiny. You thought your persistence would be the bridge that led them to love you back. But the truth was simpler and harder. Spirit never asked you to chase them. Spirit asked you to recognize yourself. Those unanswered calls? They were your first lessons in boundaries. Those closed doors? They were protection in disguise. Every time you were left talking to silence, the universe was speaking through it, saying, wait. Not wait for them, but wait for you to remember your power. Because your chasing wasn't about love. It was about fear of losing what you thought you needed. But what you needed was never their attention. It was your own awakening. You didn't realize it then, but heaven was taking notes on how you handled neglect, how you kept your kindness intact even when others played with it, how you turned pain into perseverance. Spirit was testing your patience, refining your faith, shaping your endurance, and when you finally stopped begging to be seen, something powerful happened. That ache you carried began to change form. It turned into purpose. That heartbreak that once drained you became fuel. Your silence became sacred ground. The same hands that once typed long paragraphs now started building something real. The same voice that once pleaded for love started speaking power into your goals. And the same heart that once bled for the wrong ones began to beat for your destiny. Capricorn, you didn't just move on, you evolved. You didn't just stop chasing. You remembered that you were never meant to run after anyone. Because those who truly belong to your spirit will recognize your worth, not after you beg, but because your energy speaks louder than words. You thought you were waiting on them, but spirit was waiting on you. Waiting for you to realize that the version of you who chased was never meant to last. And now that you've grown beyond it, The story is about to turn. Capricorn. Your glow-up didn't come with noise or applause. It came quietly, like dawn breaking after a long, cold night. You didn't need to prove anything. You simply kept showing up. You turned your pain into focus, your confusion into strategy, your silence into power. While they were gossiping, you were growing. While they were counting your failures, you were counting your lessons. Every day, while they thought you were defeated, you were rebuilding. One small decision at a time. You stopped waiting for permission and started giving yourself direction. Your rise wasn't dramatic, it was deliberate. You chose peace over pettiness, solitude over shallow company. You learned that peace is not weakness, it's a declaration that you refuse to give chaos free rent in your mind. You learned that your energy is sacred and not everyone deserves access to it. They thought your silence meant you had nothing left. But silence was your strategy. You were letting your roots deepen before your branches reached the sky. And when your breakthrough finally came, it came with grace, not noise. You didn't have to announce it because your growth spoke louder than your words ever could. You became stronger, not harder. You became wiser, not colder. You stopped explaining yourself and started expressing yourself through results. Your confidence grew from experience, not ego. And the world began to notice the glow that discipline creates, the kind of glow that can't be bought, can't be copied, can't be faked. They used to joke about your dreams, remember? They called you unrealistic, too quiet, too intense. But now, those same voices speak your name differently. With curiosity, with hesitation, sometimes with regret. They never thought you'd become the one who made it through. But you did. Because you stopped fighting for attention and started fighting for alignment. You learned to move in silence and let time do the talking. You learned to stop chasing people and start chasing purpose. You stopped trying to be liked and started being respected. And now the very ones who underestimated you are rethinking everything they said about you. Capricorn, your transformation wasn't for validation. It was for evolution. You didn't change to impress anyone. You changed because staying the same would have meant betraying yourself. You became grounded in who you are, and that's why you became unstoppable. Every scar you carry has a story, and every story has a strength behind it. The mountain you climbed wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to reveal you. And now, those who once overlooked you can't help but look up to you. They don't understand how you did it, but they can feel the shift. You became the calm in your own storm, the answer to your own prayer. You are living proof that when pressure meets patience, diamonds are born. And Capricorn, that diamond is you. It always happens, Capricorn. The same people who once left you waiting, wondering, and questioning your worth are now finding reasons to reappear. The ones who vanished without explanation suddenly remember you. They send a casual, "Hey stranger," like nothing ever happened. They comment on your success, pretending it's harmless curiosity, but deep down, it's regret disguised as small talk. They start liking old pictures, revisiting conversations, reaching out with, "I was just thinking about you." But they're not missing the real you. They're missing the version of themselves that felt in control when you were still chasing. They miss being needed. They miss being admired. They miss the power they had when your heart was still trying to prove its loyalty. But now, you've gone quiet. Your silence has become unsettling. They can feel the distance, that peaceful, unbothered energy that once felt impossible for you. You've become unreachable, not because you're hiding, but because you've healed. And to them, that feels like losing oxygen. The chaser has become the chosen. The seeker has become the found. You no longer look for validation, and that shift has changed the entire atmosphere around you. It's not arrogance, it's ascension. When you finally stop chasing what was never yours, what was never meant for you begins to chase you. That's not coincidence, that's divine order. Your energy has matured. You no longer operate from lack. You move from abundance. And because of that, the universe rebalances what was once uneven. Where you once begged for attention, now attention finds you. Where you once waited to be loved, now your presence commands respect. Those people who once ignored your messages now sit in silence, replaying the moments they took for granted. They scroll through your life from afar, trying to piece together how you managed to rise without them. They remember your kindness after being treated coldly by others. They remember your patience after meeting people who rush through connection. They remember your peace after drowning in drama. Now they realize you weren't ordinary. You were rare, and they mistook rarity for routine. And now they're discovering that peace doesn't live everywhere. They left you searching for excitement, but what they found was emptiness. And that emptiness is their lesson. But Capricorn, this reversal isn't about payback. This isn't about saying, look who came back. It's about divine recognition. Heaven is showing you the power of becoming whole. That when you love yourself enough to walk away, what's truly meant for you will never need to be chased. You see, this isn't your moment to boast. It's your moment to breathe and acknowledge the full circle of grace. Because the same way they learn through loss, you learn through letting go. And now you walk differently. You speak differently. You move with quiet confidence, knowing that your energy taught them what words never could. You didn't have to prove your worth. You just had to stop giving discounts on your spirit. And now those who once ran from your love are realizing they'll never find it again in that same pure form. You're not meant to go back where you healed from, Capricorn. You're meant to move forward, with gratitude, with peace, with quiet power, because your presence became their lesson, and your absence became their awakening. Capricorn, let's go deeper. Why do they always seem to return when your heart is finally quiet? Why do the same people who left you behind suddenly want to check in? It's not coincidence, it's spiritual law. When your spirit finally finds peace, your absence begins to echo louder than your presence ever did. The silence they once took for granted starts to feel unbearable. Because it was never just you they lost. It was the energy that surrounded you. You carried something rare: stability, truth, calm. You were the grounding force in their storm, the mirror that reflected who they truly were. And when you walked away, the reflection vanished. Spiritually, this has little to do with love stories or apologies. It's not about romance. It's about vibration. You were always vibrating at a higher frequency, even when you didn't know it. Your light brought order where there was chaos. Your honesty brought clarity where there was confusion. And now, without your energy anchoring them, their world feels scattered, heavier, unfamiliar. They're drawn to you again, not because you've become someone new, but because your energy has matured into peace. And peace is magnetic. They don't understand it consciously, but their spirit feels the difference. They sense that you've tapped into something divine, something unexplainable. You used to chase love, but now love recognizes you. You used to run after approval, but now you move in alignment. That's the power of divine magnetism. When you stop forcing what's not meant, what is meant begins to flow toward you naturally. When you stopped begging for attention, your light became stronger. When you stopped proving your worth became undeniable, and the universe started shifting in your favor. This is why old doors that once closed on you are slowly reopening. Not because you knocked again, but because what's inside finally recognizes your value. This is why the same people who ghosted you are now looking for closure. This is why old friends suddenly want to catch up. It's not a coincidence. It's alignment showing you what no longer fits. But here's the truth, Capricorn. It's not that they've changed. It's that you have. You've risen to a higher place, and not everyone can breathe at that altitude. You're vibrating on a level they can no longer reach without healing themselves first. And many of them are realizing it's easier to chase you now than to face their own reflection. But you've outgrown the need to chase anyone. You bless them from afar. You smile without bitterness. You release without resentment. Because forgiveness is no longer a favor you give, it's a form of freedom you choose. You understand that peace is too expensive to trade for old conversations. You no longer look back wondering, why me? Now you look forward knowing it was meant to be. Every person who left was part of the divine choreography that brought you here. They had to leave so you could learn what stays. They had to break you so you could see how quickly you heal. And now the universe is rewarding your growth by revealing who was truly aligned with your destiny. So when they circle back, Capricorn, remember this. It's not your job to reopen the door. Your only task is to stay aligned with peace. Because your peace is what called in the blessings that are now arriving. You no longer need validation. You no longer crave recognition. You've become the recognition itself, proof that spiritual maturity turns pain into power. And that's the real reason they're returning. Not to love you again, but to witness what divine transformation looks like when someone refuses to be broken. Capricorn, there comes a time when silence becomes your loudest language. When you finally realize you no longer have to fight for what already carries your name. You've reached that season. The season where peace no longer feels foreign, it feels like home. There was a time you would argue to be understood, explain yourself to the deaf, and fight for hearts that were never listening. You wanted them to know your intentions, your truth, your loyalty. You thought if you could just show them your heart one more time, they would stay. But Spirit said, no more performance, no more pleading, no more proving. Now you walk differently. There's a quiet authority in your step. You don't rush, you don't chase, you move with certainty. Because you finally know that anything built on your begging will never bless you. Your peace became your protest. When you stopped explaining, you began expanding. When you stopped defending, you started ascending. Because every time you tried to justify your heart to the wrong soul, you shrank. And the universe could not expand in a space of constant apology. So heaven intervened. It allowed disappointment to close doors you didn't have the courage to lock. It allowed betrayal to reveal the truth you kept excusing. And when it all fell apart, it wasn't punishment, it was purification. Capricorn, your new glow is not the result of revenge, it's the reflection of release. You don't need the spotlight anymore. You are the light. You've mastered the art of stillness in the middle of storms that used to shake your bones. Where others scream to be heard, you whisper prayers. Where others fight to be right, you choose to be free. That's growth. That's power. That's peace. Your silence now speaks in ways words never could. It echoes through every room you once left behind. They feel it. The absence of your explaining, the absence of your effort, the absence of your energy. They replay old conversations and realize you were never the problem. You were the piece they mishandled. Walking away wasn't a small step. It was your final act of self-respect. You didn't slam doors, you simply stopped knocking. You didn't curse anyone, you blessed yourself with distance. And that distance became holy ground. Look at you now. You no longer rush to respond to negativity. You no longer argue with projection. You no longer feel the need to be chosen. Because you finally understand, the chosen don't chase. Peace has become your new definition of success. Your victories are quiet. They happen in early mornings, in your routines, in your discipline, in your laughter that finally feels unforced. You wake up lighter because you stop carrying explanations for people committed to misunderstanding you. They notice, Capricorn. They notice the calm. They notice how unbothered you've become. They talk about it, sometimes with confusion, sometimes with admiration. Because nothing confuses those who underestimated you more than watching you stay still while everything around you demands a reaction. You used to think walking away meant weakness. You thought silence meant surrender. But now you see that silence is sacred. It's the sound of strength realigning itself. It's the echo of boundaries finally honored. And in that quiet, the universe does its best work. You became everything they said you couldn't, not out of spite, but out of spirit. You didn't rise to embarrass them, you rose to meet yourself. You became the evidence that peace outlasts pride. And now, the very people who doubted your ability to heal can't stop watching your transformation. They want you again, not because they understand you now, but because they finally realize how empty their life feels without your calm. They miss the warmth of your presence, the security of your loyalty, the wisdom in your words. But you, Capricorn. You no longer crave what chaos offers. You learned that attention is not affection, and company is not connection. Healing has made you selective. You no longer accept invitations to arguments disguised as conversations. You no longer water dead plants hoping for new blooms. You no longer re-enter rooms where your soul once suffocated. Because healing taught you that peace is not found in going back, it's found in staying gone. You don't resent them, you release them. You bless them with understanding, even if they never apologize. Because forgiveness isn't a gift for them, it's medicine for you. You've learned that holding on to bitterness blocks blessings, and you refuse to live bitter when God called you better. Now, when the past comes knocking, you smile, not because you're tempted, but because you're thankful. Thankful that you no longer fit where you once begged to belong. Thankful that you now recognize manipulation wearing the mask of love. Thankful that what once drained you now teaches you. You've become graceful in your departure. You walk away with gratitude instead of guilt. You carry lessons instead of resentment. You move with purpose, not pain, and that's what makes your energy untouchable. Capricorn, the ones who once broke you will one day tell stories about how strong you became. They'll remember how your silence made them listen, how your distance made them reflect, because your peace taught them what their chaos never could. So walk tall, walk slow, walk blessed, because every step you take away from what dishonored you is a step deeper into your destiny. Your story is no longer about who hurt you. It's about how heaven healed you. You are not cold, you are clear. You are not distant, you are delivered. And you no longer chase what's already beneath the level you've risen to. Walking away gracefully isn't the end of your story, Capricorn. It's the beginning of your reign. The mountain didn't move for you, you climbed it. And from here, the view is peace. So now, dear Capricorn, stand tall in your evolution. You've climbed through seasons that tried to break your bones. Yet here you are, still rising, still glowing, still moving in grace. You are no longer the one who begs to be seen, you are the vision itself. You are no longer the seeker, you have become the sanctuary. No longer the beggar, you are the blessing. The people who once looked down on you now look up to you, wondering how you carried storms that would have drowned them. They called you cold, but it was discipline. They called you distant, but it was protection. They mistook your silence for weakness, not realizing it was the sound of self-mastery being born. The one you once chased is now chasing you. But this time, your steps are guided by wisdom, not by wounds. Your heart no longer runs after validation. It flows with purpose. Your love is no longer desperate to be understood. It is sacred and selective. You've learned that not every connection deserves a comeback. Because peace isn't found in going back, it's found in moving forward. You've discovered that closure doesn't always come through words. Sometimes it comes through your own elevation. When you grew, the conversation ended. When you healed, the story closed. And now your silence has become the loudest sentence in the book of your becoming. Capricorn, if this message speaks to your soul, write this in the comments to seal it. I am not chasing, I am chosen. Because the moment you declare it, the universe begins to echo it back. The energy that once made you doubt your worth now bends in your favor. The same doors that once slammed in your face are now opening gently. The same names that once ignored you now speak yours with respect. Your vibration has shifted, from proving to attracting, from fighting to flowing, from being overlooked to being ordained. Your spirit glows now with divine authority. You've stopped chasing outcomes and started allowing destiny to reveal itself. You no longer need to be liked. You're too aligned for that. You no longer need to be loud. Peace has made you powerful in silence. Everything that once felt delayed is arriving in divine timing, because your story was never behind. It was being written in secret. And soon, the world will see it clearly. You became everything they thought you couldn't. You stood when they expected you to fall. You bloomed where they prayed you'd wither. You rose so gracefully that even your enemies can't deny your light. So stay graceful, Capricorn. Stay grounded. Your path is sacred now. Your journey has weight. Don't lower yourself to explain your glow to those still choosing the dark. Let your peace speak for you. Let your consistency continue the conversation. Because the ones who once doubted you will remember. They'll never forget the day you stopped chasing them. Because that was the same day they started chasing you. Stay connected to this divine journey. Subscribe for more messages made for your spirit, and remember this truth. Your story is not ordinary, it is sacred. Your rise was not random, it was written in the stars. You are the mountain they couldn't climb, and now the world is finally learning what only heaven knew. That the view from your victory was worth every fall, every tear, and every step it took to reach it.